Alrighty, friends. Now that you got to hear me read the poem again, one time without stopping the whole way through, this time when we read, we are going to stop. We're going to stop at each stanza. And if you remember from yesterday, a stanza is a group of lines. So I'm getting my highlighter ready, and I'm going to mark each stanza in orange. So here I see that there's a group of lines, and then there's kind of a space before the next group. So I know that this first group is my first stanza. So I'm going to mark this in orange and write a number 1 by it. That's stanza 1. This next group is stanza 2. And this last group is stanza 3. Our poem today has 3 stanzas. We are going to take some time to read it, and we're going to look for words that tell us about who. We're going to mark those words in pink. Words about who might be names like Miss Papa, like Miss Helton, like Lily, like Sephora. Those are all names. Another who word might be pronouns. Pronouns like I, me, we, us. Those all tell us about people, animals, or characters in the story. After we find our who words, we want to start looking for our what words. We're going to mark those what words in red, and today our what is going to be anything in the poem that tells us about where the sidewalk ends. I went ahead and marked my title in red so that we know what our what is about. Anytime that we hear details or descriptions about where the sidewalk ends, that's going to tell us what. And we already know that we want to figure out why. Why are they going to the place where the sidewalk ends? Anytime that we hear something in the poem that tells us why they're going to where the sidewalk ends, we're going to highlight it in green. So let's go ahead and we're going to break it up chunk by chunk. Our first chunk is right here. We have this first group of lines, and we have our first stanza. You guys see the word stanza right there on the screen, and we are going to be looking for our who, what, why words. Go ahead and make track with me and listen for any words that tell you about pronouns or names for who, anything about where the sidewalk ends for what, and why they're leaving for why. Here we go. Where the sidewalk ends. There is a place where the sidewalk ends, and before the street begins, and there the grass grows soft and white, and there the sun burns crimson bright, and there the moonbird rests from his flight to cool in the peppermint wind. Alrighty, we're going to pause there. I'm going to get my highlighter ready, and we're going to start with our who words, which we're highlighting in pink. There is a place where the sidewalk ends, and before the street begins, and there the grass grows soft and white, and there the sun burns crimson bright. So far, we don't have any who words, no names or pronouns, and there the moonbird rests from his flight to cool in the peppermint wind. Let's take a look at these last 2 lines on the bottom. And there the moonbird rests from his flight. So I highlighted the word moonbird because that's a character in the poem. We know that animals can be characters in stories, and we have that pronoun his. So that also tells me that he's a character in the story because we have a pronoun or a who word. Now we're going to look for some words that tell us about what, which I'm going to mark in red. We already know that our what is going to be anything about where the sidewalk ends. And this first stanza is already telling us what that place is like. There is a place where the sidewalk ends and before the street begins, and there the grass grows soft and white. So that tells me about how it is. It's soft and white, the grass there. So it tells me how it is. So it tells me about our what because it tells us more about the title. And there the sun burns crimson bright, and there the moonbird rests from his flight. to cool in the peppermint wind. Alrighty. So I highlighted some things in red that tell us about what. We know that our what is all about where the sidewalk ends. So we picked out grass grows soft and white. Does that tell us about where the sidewalk ends? Yes, that place where the sidewalk ends, the grass grows soft and white. So we highlighted that in red to tell us about our what. There, the sun burns crimson bright, which means the sun is in the sky and it's super bright. It tells us about what? It tells us what it looks like. We know that it's also a place where the bird goes to rest in the wind. So that's also highlighted in red. So we already are learning so much more about this poem. Take a second to think about, well, what is the who in this stanza and what is the what in this stanza? How has talking about these things and how has taking the time to think about these things helped you understand the poem better?